Welcome to Chaotically Nerdy, a podcast for nerds by nerds. Chaotically Nerdy is a podcast made by adults for adults and children with bad parents, which is me. Adult language and situations may arise. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Chaotically Nerdy. On this week's episode is me, Tyler.
And me, Jarrett.
And me, Ethan.
And me, Ashley.
And this week, as Ethan shrugs his shoulders consistently, we're going to talk about our 2024 individual watch list. What we've watched, what we've enjoyed this movie.
Wow.
You can tell it's
the
late.
Stroke.
The stroke.
Yeah.
The one brain cell was not
failed
with me.
you.
Just kind of what we've watched this year.
Yeah.
I'm
Not that was made in 2024. I don't know if you did that. You probably did.
I did that
Yeah.
because for the most part, I
What
haven't
you
watched
watched in
anything.
2024.
I'm going to
be
make an
honest.
addendum to your statement because I didn't watch a lot, but I did read a lot.
Yeah.
That's
I was
fine.
going to say
It's-
everything.
well,
Read, played,
That's any
whatever.
We did-
media.
Consuming
Yeah.
of media.
Whenever we talked about it originally, we talked about just media. Because I do have video games. I actually thought we were doing it as a top 10 for the year, and so I did that. Yeah. I wrote mine down as a top 10, and then
I don't know if I got 10, but I got enough.
you have to have 10.
Oh, yeah. I'm saying I got enough. I could make 10, but I didn't have a list of 10.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
I could make more.
And a lot of these we'll have together. Like, we've all watched it. Mm-hmm. If nothing else, for just the podcast.
Some
we
of
have
them, yeah.
But that's most of what I've watched.
Yeah.
Is for the podcast.
same,
So,
honestly.
yeah.
You've listened to a whole bunch of audiobooks, though, in that
Yeah.
time.
I have, yes, and I was thinking about that too. So
Yeah, so you can name off some books. And we'll roll and see.
Ready?
Yeah.
That were. That's me, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
She says, ow.
talk about one of them.
Uno momento.
So, Ethan can attest to this because I am an avid reader. I read a lot. I really like sitting down and putting my time and effort into reading a book. I am currently reading a book called A Curious Beginning, which is very good. But like 3 or 4 books before this, I read the the Bridgerton series, which I know is not exactly up your guys' alley. You guys have probably seen the Bridgerton show, but it does nothing compared to the actual book series itself. The series follows the cousins of the Bridgerton, or like, not really cousins, they're friends of the Bridgertons, but it follows 4 individual pairs of people, and it's just a generic, like, historical romance book. But Julia Quinn is a really good author, so I find myself reading her pretty often.
Neat. I know.
Sam's watched it.
Yeah, I see everybody freaking out over Bridgerton all the time. I'm like,
It's basically porn.
that's what I
I don't know if the
book.
books are that way, but
No.
It's like Downton Abbey meets like Game of Thrones. That's the show. The show sucks.
Yeah.
I thought. I
The
tried
show
to watch it
sucks.
because I really liked Downton Abbey, and I was like, oh, look, more late Victorian stuff. And
It was way before Victoria. It was Regency era, and
I know it's supposed to be, but the show does not look like it.
no, and I know that you and I have had a discussion about you reading Julia Quinn, because though Bridgerton, the show, I don't feel like does the book any justice, Julia Quinn, the author herself, has a fantastic sense of humor. And I mean, how many times did you look up, because I was laughing at something that I was reading in that book series?
Oh, several times. I mean, I don't know all of them like offhand because I
know.
don't remember anything.
But you do.
Goldfish brain.
Hi, I'm Ashley. Nice
I
to
get
meet
it.
you.
Hi, we're married.
We are married.
this is like the 5th time y'all have met on the podcast.
He has goldfish brain. He can't remember.
I get it.
It's Grandpa. He's got Alzheimer's. It's fine.
I wake up to a surprise every day now. Who the fuck are you?
His eyes open. Oh my god!
Where am I?
But yeah, I would say the Smythe Smith series by Bridgerton is definitely up there on my list of favorite things that I've watched this year.
I almost wanted to watch Bridgerton just because of Regé Jean Page from the D&D movie. He's in the first season, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It doesn't save it.
No, but I was like, just because I liked his character, and I was like, he's a good actor.
Save yourself.
When Sam watched it,
Yeah,
I was
never.
usually in the office doing things like editing the podcast or something like that, and I would just walk out for like a snack or something to drink, and I would see two people fucking on the screen, and I'm
so
like,
you got the reverse of what Sam gets when you watch anime.
yeah, and I gave her so much shit for it because I would just like walk out real quiet, and I'd just walk up behind her and be like, "What you watching?" And she'd be like, "What?" And she'd freak out. Like, it's not that bad, I promise. It just happened.
And you're like, I don't care.
The books themselves,
Exactly.
there wasn't nearly as much pornographic material as people.
Which is also like Game of Thrones.
It is funny though.
I've read
that,
way
The
worse.
books
smut.
don't have that much.
Eh,
They have
I
some.
ain't-
A lot
read
more.
a
I feel like
lot of the books,
I feel like a lot more rapey though. In
Yeah,
the
it
books.
is.
They do, but
Yeah.
they don't like go into detail in the books. Yeah.
I just thought it was funny that the tables had turned because it never mattered when I walked out. It was always sex. And I don't think the show's actually that much.
Yeah.
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 Roll it.
3.
Jared.
Me. We'll go with the first one that I would like to talk about, which is Normal People, which is a Hulu series that came out in 2020, I think. 2021. Forget. It's got Paul Mescal and Daisy Edgar Jones. The only reason I watched it is because Paul Mescal is going to be in Gladiator 2.
Gotcha.
So I was like, hey, I'll watch him. And he was also rumored at the time to be in Fantastic Four. I was like, I've never watched anything with him. I want to watch it. Really good show about two people going from high school or whatever the fuck British people go to. I don't know. Not high school. It's like
Secondary school.
secondary school. That's what it is. To uni. But it's just a really good show of like two people just growing up together and like falling both in and out of love with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's really good.
Gotcha.
Oh, sorry.
You're good.
3.
It's me. Watching in 2024, I started One Piece in like January. Not the anime, because
How far did you get?
no, the Netflix show.
Oh,
I watched it.
gotta
Because
clarify there.
Yeah, no. That's why I literally said right before you asked how far did you get. I said not the anime,
Gotcha.
because
that could be in the manga.
yeah, it could technically, but no, I watched that. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
It's on my list. Eventually, maybe I'll watch it.
Yeah, I don't. Some of the like looks of it, I'm not crazy about.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't crazy about the trailer.
Yeah.
But everybody said it was like pretty decent. I was like,
Yeah, it's pretty decent. From what I've read, it kind of follows the story. So I mean, you get
well, I watched, I don't know, first like 100 episodes of One Piece back way back when it came out on Fox, like on 4Kids, way back in the day,
gotcha.
with the Pirate Rap as the theme song.
Yeah. Ethan, you're next.
It's okay. It's late, Grandpa.
I think really outside of what we've watched for the podcast, I think the only thing I've really watched was The Chosen,
The Chosen.
which is about Jesus.
It's got Kirk Cameron in it.
No.
Okay. He's just usually in like the Jesus.
No, it's not. It's specifically not, which is why I'm watching it.
Oh.
Because usually he doesn't do a great job, I'll be honest.
No, I know the movie, like he did Left, was he in Left Behind?
Left Behind, yeah, I think so.
I think he was. But he does a lot of those, like,
Yeah,
Christian movies.
yeah, that was not very good. The Chosen though, it's made by a smaller company based out of Texas, I believe.
I don't remember.
I don't remember offhand. They actually do a really good job. They have really good acting. The dialogue is well written, and of course, it stems from the Bible, so you kind of have to say that.
I have seen this. It's on Netflix.
It's it's not terrible. It's actually a pretty good show. Sometimes some of the directing's a bit odd when they're going between places because Jesus does like a
Time skip?
no,
No, not time skip.
and they actually stay true to the original content. And they do a pretty good job with it. I was actually really rather impressed by it, even though it's not exactly like what it says in the Bible, but they do a good job.
I like it so far.
Yeah.
It's well written.
It comes from the Bible.
I mean, like the actual
Yeah.
forming of the show.
Yeah,
is well
it's
written.
well done. It's well edited from the Bible. And I don't know. It actually is pretty good, which is surprising because most Bible-based like movies or shows are not very good. They've got usually either really bad acting or the writing is so screwed up from the original content, like the Noah movie, that it just doesn't make any sense.
The one with Emma Watson and
Yeah.
Russell Crowe.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was really screwed up. It was weird. There was like elementals in it and stuff. Yeah, it was strange. Anyway, that's it.
Roll it.
Trace.
Me.
No,
Him. I'm 2. Okay.
because on that one it's 1, 2, 3.
Me again?
Yep.
Oh,
Back to back, son.
Okay, well then it's no shows, movies. I don't think there's anything I watched separate from you guys. Maybe some old movies that I've seen before. I don't care to talk about them. They weren't musicals, if that's what you're wondering.
That is actually what I
I've
was
seen
wondering.
a lot of musicals. Okay?
I was talking about the Lord of the Rings that we put on the other day. I mean,
I've watched it.
I know.
Like
still a
I have
favorite
no
of
idea how many times I've seen Lord of the Rings.
I know.
Over 100.
It's a lot.
Well.
But I did start listening to, because I don't really read because I have been doing it while I drive to work. So I've been listening to Warhammer 40K. I started listening to it, and it started out really good, and now I'm to the point where I'm actually kind of disappointed in the series, which is really sad because I've read or listened to all of the Gotrek and Felix books, which are Warhammer Fantasy, and I really like them. But the 40K, the structure of it is just really strange for the books, because it goes like it's disappointing because it goes between like it starts out with Horus Heresy, and you get 3 stories with that, and it's about his legion that follows him, and then it diverges off, and you get a few really interesting ones with like Fulgrim and the Emperor's Children and the Death Guard and Mortarion, and then it just kind of keeps diverging, and it never follows a cohesive feel again like the first 3 books. And the Mortarion and the Fulgrim and Emperor's Children one actually felt like it was a part of the Horus Heresy, because it was like the same story but from a different point of view. But now it's just diverged so far from that I just don't care. Like, I thought I was really going to like it because I was wanting to get into reading it, because we're anticipating a Amazon Warhammer 40K show, right? I didn't say positive anticipation or negative anticipation. We'll see. But I was hoping to be able to get into it, but I'm going to keep going. But now I'm forcing myself. So anyway.
Oh, it's me. Good, because bouncing off of your Warhammer 40K, I played Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2, and I loved the fuck out of it. Like, all the complaints that reviewers had was that the game was clunky, your movement didn't feel great, and similar things to that. I did not. It's supposed to be.
Well, did they never play Gears of War?
Well, you're essentially in a fucking tank.
Yeah.
A suit of armor.
It's a wearable tank.
It should be clunky. Though some of the lines, like specifically there's a Dreadnought line that is just amazing. I put it in the Discord because whenever I seen it, I was like, this is fucking awesome. And it was, I can't even remember what it was off the top of my head. But he was like, show me to the heretics and lead me to the slaughter were the 2 lines. And I was like, that's just awesome. It makes you feel badass.
I'll say this as a sort of an aside to that, was like the feel and the world was really interesting around the stories. Mm-hmm. And like some of the dialogue was really good, because it's very like hype dialogue on it a lot of times, but it was the stories themselves just being so divergent.
Gotcha.
So How are the visuals in Space Marine? Because I haven't got to play it yet.
It's really good. Now, granted, my computer's like struggling to keep up. I'm running at like 50 frames a second, which isn't bad, but
it's kind of intensive on the graphics.
yeah, it's hard on your CPU.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's more CPU intensive than GPU intensive.
Which is weird because most games, they either struggle on GPU or RAM.
Yeah.
Instead, that's weird.
No,
There's not many games that are
Struggling
CPU bound.
yeah, from what I've read about it is, now granted, mine are pretty like in line with each other, so I wouldn't really be able to know if I had
That's
a
interesting.
problem.
I'm curious now, and I'll have to look it up because a lot of games have in the past struggled with their CPU usage because they're only able to really utilize one core.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not very many games are multi-threaded at all.
Well, yeah, and then now, like most games are at most 2.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how many this one can utilize. If it's just 2, or did they try 3 and now it's just having trouble, like being compatible with that on multiple different types of processors?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that, or if they need to start branching out from 2 to like 3 or 4 to be able to handle the new graphics qualities. And that's pretty interesting. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, I just noticed that like on it was my temps were higher on my CPU than my GPU, which typically my GPU is just a tick higher than my CPU. So
Where's
for
your
my
CPU sitting at normally for it?
normally I get like for a normal game, meaning not Warhammer, not AAA, like when I played Power World,
Yeah.
it was typically like 50,
Yeah.
like around 50 to 54. Playing Warhammer, it was like up to 60.
Yeah.
So it's not like any
It's
crazy.
not detrimentally
no,
high.
not. But it's just high enough that I could tell the CPU was working harder.
Yeah, no. I had a game that I had realized that my CPU needed new juice on it.
Yeah.
And because my CPU sat at 86
Oh, no.
for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's actually not going to hurt it.
No.
No,
You have
it's
to
not
do it-
bad.
Yeah,
You gotta get
you have
over
to do
100.
that.
You got to get over 100
Yeah,
for
you
it to
do.
actually start damaging your CPU.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the visuals in it. Now, granted, I turned down a lot of graphics so I could try to get a more consistent frame rate because I would have drops here and there. So I just kind
Especially
of
with all those extra particle effects towards the end of the game.
yeah. And that's where I noticed more drops even after turning. Like the beginning, there was hardly any frame drops even at the higher settings, and then
Well, Tyranids don't have any magic.
yeah, in the middle, I turned it down because that's where you started seeing magic and seeing a lot more shit happen, and it stopped the frame drops. And then the end, I kept getting them.
Yeah.
And I was at that point for me where I was like, I'm not going to drop this lower because I don't want to lose the quality
Right.
any more than what I already have.
Yeah.
But no, it's fun. My favorite class to play is there's an assault class where you have a jetpack and you can get a hammer and you just jump up, smash.
Bash them.
And it's so fun. Especially once you like get the feel for how you do it. Roll it. I'm done with mine.
2.
Jarrett.
Me. We'll go with the first 2 seasons of Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War.
So with that, have you watched all of original Bleach?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you had or not.
I had read somewhere up to where they're at in season 2 of 1,000-Year Blood War. That's where I stopped reading the manga at. Because I think Naruto finished at the same time, and I was like, oh well, I don't have to go read Bleach anymore either. But no, I'd watched all of Bleach, the original, way back in the day, and then was sad when they was like, oh man, we're never going to see it because these are like some of the best fights in the anime,
Yeah.
or the manga. But no, it's really good. It's Bleach. It's definitely I would say it's the best of the big 3 to me.
Okay.
That's me.
Yep.
I'm the last option. So I'm going to go back to another book. I'm going to preface that I picked up this book because I get offended when they write books that take place in New York because they usually happen in one place, and that's Poughkeepsie, New York. And I picked up this book.
I was going to say New York City.
No, it's always fucking Poughkeepsie. But I picked up this book because it was set in Poughkeepsie, but the way that it was set up was it hooked me immediately because it comes from the perspective of a woman who's been kidnapped and held captive. Yeah, it's a really fucked up book. But it was really, really, really good to the point where I didn't put it down in like the 4 or 5 hours that it took me to read it because of how interesting it was. It was really well written too. The fact that they kept her name private and quiet for like the entirety of the book was really impressive to me. I really liked the writing style as well. It was a really good book.
Gotcha. Yep.
2.
Jarrett.
Me, I'll go with a movie that has 10 years old at this, or 11 years old at this point. Whiplash. When
That sounds familiar.
it's Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons. It's the drumming movie.
Yeah. That's why it sounds familiar.
The
'Cause I've seen
drumming
it.
movie?
The drum. It's about drum. It's jazz.
I do know what movie you're talking about. I've watched that movie
Yes.
before.
It's very intense. It's
Yes.
fucking incredible.
Yeah, this fucking.
I
Makes
watched
me
it.
feel bad.
I literally watched it just because I got done watching Invincible and I was like, I need more J.K. Simmons. I'm like, you know what? I haven't watched this Damon Chazelle movie. I'll watch this one. I never got around to it. I was like, yeah, you know what? And I was like, oh my God, this was a bad idea. This is way too fucking intense for me.
Yeah, are you going too fast or too slow?
What's the fucking tempo? Is that my tempo? I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. Oh,
Well, it's an interesting premise.
it's interesting premise, but I'm
Having played in bands in schools before, I don't think anyone would have put up with that. Knowing people and how they act, I don't think anyone would have put up with that, especially the school. Wouldn't have, or whatever, is not going to put up with that sort of attitude and abuse.
we always say that, but there's always these stories that come out that are like these terrible people that got away with it for years and years.
Especially
and years.
in like.
I mean, the movie is also about him he gets fired
Yeah.
Yeah.
from his job. So it's like,
Well, I just don't think. I mean, I know plenty of musicians, and I don't think any of them would have put up with that. Where they told them to get fucked.
And I think that's part of what the start of the story is too, is that basically somebody else has said get fucked, and then Miles Teller's character comes in. It's been a while since I've seen it, but is that not?
that's not the story. Starts.
That's not how it starts. I
No,
thought
that's
it
not
was.
the middle part. Yeah.
No.
The story ends with them like he gets J.K. Simmons fired, and then at the very end he leaves band and he comes back and plays in J.K. Simmons' jazz band at if it's a competition or just like
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
it's
competition.
it's like a non-school related competition, and you're like, oh, he's the same kind of fucking crazy as J.K. Simmons' character.
Yeah. Go for it.
Sorry.
You're good.
Duo.
That's me. So now you get to see how much kid shit I've watched. Because next up is Inside Out 2. That one just released. Now, it's granted it was in theaters earlier this year. I think it was actually end of last year. It might have been, may not.
I think it's this year.
But it just released on Disney Plus, so we watched it.
Yeah.
My niece that I pick up from school, it is the only thing she is putting on TV right now. Like, it's like so much so that it ends, she restarts it. I was like, kid, you are going to burn yourself out on this. Like, take it from an adult who has burnt himself out on things.
Yeah.
Stop. Put on something different.
Yeah, because we both didn't burn out a tape of Lion King.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm speaking from experience. I'm trying to teach her not to.
Did that make you not love the Lion King? I mean, I still love the Lion King.
I mean, I still love the Lion
I
King.
could watch it
but
right now, being enthralled.
yeah, it's true. I could too. But no, it's okay. It's not, I don't want to be like, hey, it's a really good movie. But I
Not
mean,
for you. You're not the audience.
yeah, I'm not a teenager.
Yeah.
I don't have control of my emotions. So
Who does really?
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's kind of the point of the
If they
movie. Is she
do,
gains
though?
control of her emotions, but
Yeah. If they have control of the emotions, they're lying.
yeah,
Yeah.
mine slip out.
Yeah.
They check out sometimes too, and then I just don't have any.
Mine's usually when I'm driving.
Oh, yeah.
Mine's usually when I'm watching.
I never
things.
get angry at people when they're driving around me.
Never.
Never once have I cussed somebody out while driving who
Nor-
was not in the vehicle with me.
Sir, please take a drink.
I can't.
Since we're playing Never Have I Ever.
I,
Put a finger down.
All right, we can go ahead and roll the next one. God, dog.
Jesus.
Uno.
Aggressive.
That'll be Ethan.
Books wise though, the last of
Us?
no, I just mentioned it a minute ago. The last of the Gotrek and Felix books were finished in audiobook. It's honestly the third from last one. The last two have been in audiobook for a while now. I don't know why they did it in that order, but the thing I want to mention about these, I really like the books. They've been out for a while. People know about them. It's not like it's a secret. But it's the guy who does the audiobooks for him is phenomenal. He does a really good job reading them. I got to look up his name because I forgot. What is his name?
Peter Cottontail.
It is not.
Or the shot.
John Jacob Jingleheimer.
It is not. It is Jonathan Keeble. He also does
close.
other voice acting stuff in video games and in like animated shows and stuff. He's fantastic at reading the books because he actually does a pretty good job actually voicing characters differently and making them actually sound different from one another without just straight reading it.
They should get Matt Mercer to read.
What?
Anything.
Dritz Stillwarden
Sure.
series?
The phone book.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Those,
Phone book.
the phone book. I'd listen for at least a minute.
Yeah.
And that's longer than I really should.
Probably.
All right. It's my turn, isn't it?
Yep.
Back to me.
Somehow you keep being the last one.
I'm
She
fine
was
with
the
it.
first one. What are you talking about?
I was in fact the first one. I will go with the one that I actually just read the other day, and it's sequel, so it's going to be a twofer because they go hand in hand. I read The 5 People You Meet in Heaven and The Next 5 People You Meet in Heaven. I love The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. I know that Ethan knows this. I read that book at least once a year because I like crying like a bitch and feeling all of the emotions. If you've read the book, you know.
You read it
Like,
to me because I
did.
can't read.
I did. I read it.
That's
out.
my thing. Go fuck yourself.
Mine's a secret. Well, not anymore. It's on a podcast.
It's still kind of a secret, let's be honest.
You don't like to read. You like to have it read
Oh, you
to
have it
you.
read to me.
That was the pretext I went under with going in and reading him the book. I really, really liked the book. I love the book enough, in fact, that I've read it at least once a year for the last 10 years. What did you think of the book?
It was at once really depressing and kind of uplifting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So it follows a man whose name is Eddie. He dies in a very tragic accident at the pier that he works for. It's like a carnival pier. And it's his traveling through heaven and meeting like people in his life, 5 people in his life that made a difference and whatnot.
I was going to specifically 5 people.
Specifically 5 people. And then the next 5 people you meet in heaven is the girl that he saves. It's her time in heaven. I couldn't really give a hoot about the second one. Like I get why he wrote a second one, but the first one will always have my heart and soul.
Well, he probably wrote the second one because his publisher was like, the first one did really good. Let's write a second
fuck
one.
He wrote
yeah.
the second one because of money.
Money. Yeah, probably.
It happens.
Considering I've read more of his books, like I finished another book called Tuesdays with Maury with him, and it was very underwhelming.
Sometimes authors have one thing to write that's really good,
It was
and
Mitch
the rest of
Albom's
it's
The 5
kinda-
People You Meet in Heaven. That was the book, and then the rest are
It happens. There's a lot of authors like that.
yeah.
They got one good shot in them, and then they're like, hey, you know.
I was like, well, that took me 7 years.
4. It's me again.
Back to back.
Back to books.
Back to back to back.
So I read
Too many
several
backs.
very depressing books this past month.
You have. That's all you've been reading is
know.
really
It's
depressing
because
books.
the sun is going down earlier. We're hitting seasonal depression time.
Well,
No, it's because she moved down here and now she's living with me. And
Fair enough.
We're just depressed.
She did. She did
I
get
left-
married.
The house smells like dog shit more often than not.
I left my children back in New York. I have reasons for her being depressive, sir.
I was not going to mention that.
Yeah, call me
Yeah.
out. Call me out. It's fine.
I was trying to lighten the mood. Thank you.
It's fine. Anyways,
Also, those out there, you left them
Negative
with
Nancy.
someone.
I did. They're with their father. They're in school with their father. I did not leave them on the side of the street. I'm not a neglectful mother.
Like, someone could hear that and be like,
drove
holy
them.
fuck, she just left her
No.
kids?
Just drove
They're
him
with
to an
their dad.
abandoned car lot.
Here's the fire station.
My children are fine. They're with their father.
Put them in a big basket.
Sweet mother of God. What am I pushing down the fucking Nile?
Yeah.
I wish. My kids would probably like actually seeing the Nile. Anyways, so I made a decision that I was going to reread a book that I haven't read since about 7th grade. And if you know anything about the topic, it was not fun. I read a book called Into Thin Air, which is by an author named John Krakauer. Ethan is leaning back and staring at the ceiling forlornly because he knows what's
Not
coming.
again.
Well, I explained the whole premise of the book to him. So it follows a reporter who was writing for Outside Magazine who was tasked with going up to the peak of Everest and writing about the commercialization of Everest. And he happened to go up in 1996, which in 1996 on May 10th, there was a massive storm that hit and it killed 16 people on the mountain that day, majority of which were in his group. And it was his retelling of all of the events from everything that he could remember and from interviews that he had with the people that he was up on the mountain with after the fact that survived. And it was basically just breaking down why everything happened and how everything happened and how unpredictable the nature of, well, nature can be a lot of the times and how a lot of things could have been prevented if people had actually stuck to a hard game plan. And they chose not to. And because of it, a whole bunch of people ended up dying. And reading it as a 7th grader, you don't really quite understand the gravity of the situation, but rereading it as an adult, like knowing that some people were less than 600 feet away from where their tents were and froze to death, that really fucking sucks. It was a good book, though. I highly recommend it for anyone who likes stories about true events and like people surviving through them. It was a really good book.
There was like one guy who was like, I know the way down, and then proceeded to just walk off a cliff.
Yeah.
He did. He knew the way down.
Yeah, he did.
Technically,
That man did not lie.
not wrong.
He knew what he was talking about.
Yep. And
I
actually,
think he survived.
he did survive.
Yeah.
He did survive. He ended up sliding down the hill a little ways. He picked himself back up, walked himself into camp. He lost his nose, his hands, his hand and his feet, both of his feet,
And
to-
most of the fingers on another hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
to frostbite.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like it's a real legit sad, tragic story, and I like revisiting it every year to think about, or I like revisiting it every once in a while. It was the 5 people you meet in heaven. I like it revisiting more, but I liked revisiting and actually realizing that these people had lived through like this hard, tragic time. But the fact that there was an observer there who was willing to actually sit down and publish the story, to me, that was worth listening to. Duo.
That's me. So on the vein of more kid shows, I watched The Monkey King on Netflix, which Stella loves. Right now, she's really into like repeating things. And so we're like, Stella, do you want to watch Monkey King? And she'll just yell out, Monkey King. And
Your daughter's super cute.
yeah, she is. I don't know where she gets it from because it ain't me. It's my wife.
She cries a lot like you do.
She does. She's
I made that joke and Sam agreed with me.
pretty fucking whiny. I'll give you
Like,
that.
oh yeah.
It basically is inspired by Sun Wukong. Like it's a Netflix movie that they made based off of Sun Wukong. I don't know how else to describe it. He goes on. He's trying to become immortal.
I think I have seen
It's not
the trailer for this.
terrible. It's not good.
Maybe not. I don't know.
It's okay.
Quattro.
Quattro,
technically.
I have a question for Ashley on this one. What games have I played this year?
Atlas.
That wasn't the only thing. I didn't even play that for very long.
BG3.
Satisfactory.
BG3 was last year.
The saddest. No, you replayed it this year. A
Yeah,
little
you
bit.
did.
You definitely did.
Speaking of that, when I get the fast internet,
Yeah, you were playing your half.
I played like halfway through the first chapter.
Well, okay. You
That
asked me
doesn't
what
count.
games you've been playing.
Okay.
So
Okay. BG3.
BG3. You played Warhammer. The Total War Warhammer 3.
Yeah.
which you play all the time.
I've been playing it regularly. They did have some new updates this year that were really cool. So.
We've played KR. We played It Takes Two again.
And the Saddest of Factories.
Played the Saddest of Factories. Was Pal World this year? Or was it
Yeah,
last
Power
year?
was
That
this year. It was this year.
Yeah.
We all played that besides
Yeah.
Jarrett.
I didn't.
That's what I just said. Besides Jarrett.
I just want to make it very clear. I did not play.
I didn't play a lot of variety this year.
No, you did.
Do you think you're gonna get sued for playing the game?
No, I just.
Because I didn't do a lot of other media consumption because we've been doing this stuff so much.
Yeah,
And
that's literally my list. Like I added Monkey King and Inside Out too because
I started a new job this year, and that's been consuming a lot of time.
So is a wife.
Yeah.
yeah, literally my whole list.
true.
And catching up on Vox Machina.
My whole most of my list is literally just stuff we've watched for the podcast. I just haven't said any of it because we already talked about all that shit for the podcast.
Did The Crown finish this year?
I think so.
So I watched it. I know you guys didn't watch it.
I watched some of The Crown.
This was the last of it. And it was honestly, there was a lot of complaints about how it ended. But I thought they ended it really well and respectfully without being too like
Speculative.
hail the queen thing, you know.
It was like the end of last year, but close enough.
Oh, really? Well, I think I watched it this
Yeah,
year.
you might watch. It came out like end of December, like almost on Christmas.
So I did watch that then. And yeah, and I'm going to be getting Ashley to watch Downton Abbey.
We started watching it.
And there's a few other shows I'm going to get you to watch that you're going to hate me at
Probably.
at first.
I will say for Downton Abbey, I went into this already hating the Victorians. They
That's
ate.
okay.
They ate fucking
Oddly
mummies.
specific.
They ate.
They ate 'em?
mummies.
Yeah, they literally ate the mummies.
Yes, it is
yeah.
literally called mummia.
They ate like
would
2/3 of
Oh,
mummies.
they
yeah.
would
Found-
grind
them
them
up.
down and then
Yeah.
use the powder for either
I think I did know that.
paint or medication or I and they whitewashed a whole bunch of like classical statues and
What?
Viagra. It was essentially, they thought it was,
yeah.
Male
it was
enhancement.
an aphrodisiac.
well, that's what I said.
Yeah. It was basically a Extends commercial.
What a wonderful
You
name.
want to talk about a fucking throwback? Extends commercials are a throwback.
But yeah, I already went in hating the Victorians for a plethora of reasons. They whitewashed a whole bunch of classical statues that we knew that were painted. They destroyed a whole bunch of shit. They went in and looted a whole bunch of Egyptian tombs, and they ground up mummies and ate
Oh, you
them.
mean actually legitimately whitewash? Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
No, like
My brain was like the term whitewash, where we just make everything. Okay.
Where you just add a bunch of white actors.
Yeah, you mean actually
So-
put
Not
whitewash
white
on?
rolls.
yeah.
Okay.
So they took classical statues that had paint on them and scrubbed the paint off because they were like, "There's no way that the people of the past had these bright, beautiful, colorful statues." They
So
erased
they just thought
so much
somebody
fucking
else did it.
history.
Well, they thought that because when they look at antiquity statues from like Greece, most of those were outside, and though they may have been painted in the past, they
all not
no
weathered.
longer had paint on them because they were outside.
The elements took off the paint. But if you look at like a lot of classical statues, they were beautifully decorated, richly decorated
Yeah.
with color, and I mean they were bright colored too. Fuck the Victorians.
Morons.
Moran.
I don't think you need to roll. I think it's Jarrett.
Isn't it me? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Here,
don't know.
Jarrett.
We will go with. I also listened to an audiobook this year. You already knew about this, Ethan. You probably forgot, but
No, I know.
Becky Lynch, a female wrestler, put out her audiobook or her book this year, and she also did the voice for her own audiobook. And I listened to it while I was playing, I think Baldur's Gate actually. and I was so entranced because like she's such a good storyteller. She is so funny and witty. It is a very good book. It's just about her entire life, her career in WWE, meeting her husband, having her kid, coming back, all the joys of life. It's very good.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
You're good.
Uno.
It's me. So this is like the last one I have that I've really been watching this year. And it's YouTube stuff. It's like Bob Does Sports. I've been watching Bob Does Sports like every Thursday. I only watch their Thursday episodes because that's like their golf matches. And it's been fun. 2 of them got a hole-in-one this year.
That's pretty cool.
Like weeks within each other. It's statistically ridiculous that the 2 of them got that within just a few weeks. But it's been fun to watch them grow because they have gotten a lot bigger this year.
It's always fun to watch when you get on like on the ground floor of some like YouTube channel and you watch them like explode.
Yeah.
You're like, I was fucking here.
Which don't get me
I was
wrong,
here.
I didn't get in on the ground floor. I got like floor 6 of like a 12 floor building. So I got in like right in the middle. But now they're sponsored by Callaway.
Oh, that's
So like they get Callaway clubs. You got to see them go through a fitting process.
done did sold out.
Yeah. They started golf wear. Like you can buy Bob Does Sports golf apparel now, and they're funny. That's why I like them most. Like they just go and play, they do challenges. Sometimes they try to take it serious, sometimes they don't. And I will almost always laugh at least one of the episodes.
Duo.
Me?
Jarrett.
Funny that you mentioned YouTube stuff because my last one's also YouTube. I'll specifically go with this video I watched last week, which was a almost 9-hour video. Wait.
You want to get a hobby?
Hang on. I didn't listen to it all in one go. It was just like over a week I listened to it. A 9-hour video over the last season of Lost. I have listened to this man's other 3 videos over the first 5 seasons. It's just really because he digs into like all the philosophy and the backstory of like all the behind the scenes stuff that happens on Lost, like the writer's room and stuff like that. Just really interesting video by Billiam. He also does like shorter form, like 30-minute video essays on like Digimon or Code Lyoko or fucking Tamagotchi pets. Like he just does these like little historical video essays, but he's done like his favorite show is Lost, and he's done almost 25 hours of Lost content over the past 3.5 years.
Gotcha.
But he just put out his last video 3 weeks ago.
Okay. Cool.
That's what.
Ashley, who's next? It's
That's
you.
me. So I actually have 2 more that I can mention, and it's funny that you mentioned
Lost?
YouTube.
Oh, YouTube. Oh, wow, we're all going
It's
YouTube.
funny that you mentioned YouTube because I have been catching up on all of the remnants of the PBS Eons episodes that I haven't been able to watch this year. PBS Eons covers a whole like range of topics from like super deep time to geological deep time to dinosaur evolution, and they also have a podcast out that they actually just restarted recently that I've listened to a couple of, but PBS Eons is one of those shows that I enjoy watching because it has a lot of scientific backing behind it, and they actually will post the papers that it comes from. I really like them. It's like my nerdy bread and butter, basically.
It is very interesting.
They're really
It's like
good
having
at
the
it.
Science Channel back again.
Yeah,
Because the Science Channel turned into a bunch of garbage.
Yeah.
it is. They are legitimate scientists who are there for scientific intrigue.
Kind of
and
like
nothing
Animal
else.
Planet.
Or
It
History
went to-
Channel
yeah.
stopped being about history stuff and ancient aliens took over.
That's like Animal
Pawn
Planet.
Stars,
It went
yeah.
to shit.
Fuck it.
But PBS is known for sticking to their shit.
Yeah.
So I'm not really surprised that they're sticking to it, and I hope that they continue to.
Well,
because I
PBS has always been
absolutely love them.
reliable about that
Absolutely. All right.
until they get taken over by ancient aliens.
It infects all.
Is it my turn?
It's your turn.
Yep.
I'm going to break stride, even though you wanted me to mention a show that was really interesting. I think you should mention it because I've been watching it for like 2 years.
Okay.
So I think you should mention it.
Okay.
Right meow.
Right, meow.
So,
I showed it to you.
You guys listening couldn't see, but I passed it. I passed it.
You did pass it
You know
a note.
it's really fucking late when I'm
She's been
Oh,
in
no.
Missouri.
Yeah, you've been in Missouri too long. You're already affecting the accent.
cooler.
Cooler, man.
You guys say cooler. Funny.
Bang on, bang on.
What's wrong with cooler?
It's just the way that you guys say it. It's cooler, but you guys say it cooler.
Yeah.
Cooler.
It's supposed to be
Cooler.
cooler. We
Cooler.
say it like Q.
Yeah.
Like a pool
Cooler.
cue.
Yeah, I know.
Cooler. Cooler.
What's in that? Cool Whip, man?
Cool.
Cool whip.
Freeze's older brother.
Cool Whip.
Gonna make us some Kool-Aid.
Cool.
All right. What's the
Anyways,
thing?
So, Jesus.
Late night rants.
So I passed a sticky note to Ethan that had 2 suggestions on it. One was a game that he's played that he had never played before, and then the second one that I wrote and
Surprisingly, never played before.
yeah, the second one that I wrote down for him was it's a YouTube channel called Tasting History, and he basically goes into the history of certain dishes on
With Max Miller.
yeah, he's wonderful, but he goes into like the history of
Is that the burger guy?
No.
No. I feel like I've heard
Tasting
of
History it's Max Miller. He's a former Disney employee.
Okay. I feel like I've heard this show before. Maybe not.
it's really fucking good, but he'll pick a dish and then he'll discuss the history of the dish and
Or an ingredient.
yeah, its origins, the ingredients that go into it, the history about like the time that it came from. We've watched a couple that we absolutely want to try, like the bucanade.
Yeah. It's a medieval stew.
Yeah. And it
But
looked really
it's really
fucking
weird
good.
because it instead of like including like wine or vinegar or like just water, it's got like young grape juice, and it's
That's
supposed
the
to have
base.
like it's the base. It's supposed to have like a brighter, tart, almost bitter flavor to it. So it's kind of similar to vinegar, but it's not fermented at all. Is it? So it's stuff like that, and he goes into where all the stuff comes from, and what he did on that episode was he went into detail about what you would find at an actual tavern.
At taverns, inns, and ale houses.
Yeah,
and
'cause
he
they
went
are
into
different
the
things.
distinct differences between all of them, and he talked a little bit about the medieval era and what life would have been like, and what kind of access people would have had to certain types of foods. Like the next one that we did was the soup one, the bread.
The sop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Which is like French toast. I mean, it's what it looked like. Just fancy French toast.
and they were talking about how different it would have been between the peasant classes and the aristocratic classes, and like what the difference would have been and what kind of spices would have been. It was really interesting.
Traditionally, from Middle Ages, made with almond milk.
Huh.
Yep.
Because that comes from like Middle Ages and from like because they made almond milk in the Middle Ages and in the Middle East back then too.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, that's another really interesting one that I brought up.
but
that I
what's
wanted to
interesting is that he takes these tropes that we find that like medieval food was garbage because it was just like porridge or gruel or something like that weird, and he actually says that they had all these other things that they used for flavor that didn't involve tomatoes or potatoes, right? Because that's now most of like a lot of the European diet is
They have had potatoes back then?
no, because
Yeah,
they
'cause
were
that-
American.
That's what
Yeah.
I thought.
Potatoes were part of the Columbian exchange.
Yeah.
Oh,
Potatoes, tomatoes,
all the toes.
syphilis,
Peppers,
peppers,
all peppers.
smallpox.
Yeah, smallpox. Yeah,
I like how you just included syphilis as if it was a food.
yeah.
I mean, have you met the French?
Also, a love for manatees.
The possibilities.
Yeah. That comes from
on
the
Columbus-
writings of Columbus.
On Columbus Day, I wished him a happy fucking manatee days because Columbus wrote in his journal about how he slept with a mermaid on his voyage to the New World, essentially.
Which, as we all know, is often mistaken for manatees in the Caribbean.
Yeah, and unfortunately, people have figured out that it was not a mermaid; it was in fact a manatee, and that he more than likely had a
I
conjugal.
figured out you meant they read it.
He had a little cabin fever, and then the whole crew was like, "What the hell are you doing?" He's like, "Oh,
Was this on? Was this on the voyage that he got mutinied on?
I don't know.
I don't.
Because that would be why.
It would make sense.
I mean, I
No,
wouldn't
you
be
gotta
surprised.
go.
Yeah, bro. No.
Dude's out here fucking manatees. We need to fix this.
Yeah, but
Did you have another one for your? Because you had me take the tasting history one.
I do. Earlier this year, I finally finished a book that I have been trying to read, and for like 3 years. My cousin bought me this book a long time ago because we both. You don't know him? He's from Texas.
No, I'm trying to think of the book. I'm trying to figure the book.
It's a collection of really old tales from Gaelic mythology.
Oh, that's cool.
A lot of Welsh mythology, which was cited by Tolkien and by C.S. Lewis to be a lot of the inspiration for some of their lore and their stories and why they wrote what they wanted to write, which was Lord of the Rings and the Chronicles of Narnia.
What? I was making a Chronicles of Narnia.
Oh, yeah.
What?
But
Lazy Sunday.
what it is, it's called the Mabinogion, which is it's basically where we get all the stories of like a lot of the fairies. Like it's like the origination of like King Arthur. There's a bunch of stuff in there.
That's why
about
it sounds kind of
and
familiar.
it's a really hard to read because it's all in like prose. Oh God! And there's only so far I can read at one time before I want to murder somebody.
Pick me.
You can read it if you want.
No, I meant for the murder bit.
Oh,
I asked you for a
I'm not gonna
lobotomy
murder
the other
you.
day.
You're in this with me together.
For at least 3 more years.
Tyler, you're medically qualified.
I'm gonna
Wanna give me a
Romeo and
lobotomy?
Juliet you,
No.
except for I'm gonna kill you first. And
that
then
is
me.
out of my scope of practice.
Man, you just punch a hole right in the forehead somewhere, right? Just
Jarrett, my man, you're gonna help me with the lobotomy.
Church says, I'll do it.
can't be that hard.
In all honesty, it's really hard to read, and unless you like that type of stuff, don't go read it. But if you really like reading fairy tale stuff, like the Mabinogion would be a good choice. It's really interesting.
It sounds like a group of people from a fucking what's his name that wrote the Da Vinci Code. Not Dan Stevens.
Dan Brown.
Dan Brown.
Well,
That's it.
Yeah, because it sounds like the Merovingian,
Vinci.
right? Well, if you think about Mabinogion, who is the queen of air and darkness of the winter fairies?
I don't remember.
Mab.
Mab? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So it's the Mabinogion. Yeah. Which is somewhat to do with the book, but not really.
Neat.
It's not one story. It's a whole bunch of
Yeah,
stories.
it's like a collection of like all the fairy tales and myths and
Yeah. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But I tried to read it and I was really happy when I finished it. Not because I wanted it done, but because I was proud of myself for finishing a book that was not easy to read.
It's the Silmarillion. It counts.
Well, I've read the Silmarillion.
Well, no, I was using the Pirates of the Caribbean meme.
Yeah, it still counts.
It's
the Bible.
Silmarillion.
It
It
counts.
counts. Yeah. I have one more. If none of you guys have any other ones, this one is actually specifically going to be aimed at Logan, because I finally gave Legends of Arceus a try, and my God, I love that fucking game. I have issues with the game overall, but for the most part, I like the way that it feels because it feels like a standard Pokemon game met Monster Hunter, is the best way of putting it, where you have to go out on quests to like, it's not like quests to, well, I mean, it is kind of like quests for beating it because you have to defeat certain Pokemon and gain the trust of other Pokemon, but it's a game where you have to go around and actually catch multiple iterations and or fight multiple iterations of Pokemon so that you can get the original base data. So it's not you catch it once, you have the data on it, happy fucking days, move on with your life.
It's like you're creating the Pokedex.
You are literally creating the Pokedex. Now,
Interesting.
one of my big bitches about the game is that, and I'm finishing Avalugg, which is the last Guardian. So I can't speak for the late game stuff, but I dislike the fact that it's only set to 5 regions. I would like to have access to more regions, and I might have access to more regions after I actually defeat like the last boss and the MSQ that I'm going through. But I really like it because it gives you the opportunity of picking up side quests too, and being able to like fulfill the needs of the villagers in the town that you reside in. I I I wish that they had more access to better Pokemon overall, but again, I don't know later game. I might get access to a lot different Pokemon, but yeah, it's a really really good game, and I'm glad that I gave it a shot. It's not a traditional Pokemon game at all, but it is quite well done.
You don't like Hisui and Typhlosion?
I don't really care about the forms themselves. I just care more about the access that I have to Pokemon, because as of right now, the team that I have, it's Tangrowth, which is an alpha Pokemon. I have
Ninetales.
Ninetales. I've got a Honchkrow.
Yeah.
I've got I've got a couple other ones, like 3 other ones, but
What's your starter?
they're I picked Owlet
Oh, yeah.
or Rowlet
Yeah,
rather.
Yeah.
Which I don't mind Rowlet at all. I had never actually had one before. That's why I made the decision of going with Rowlet. And I have no qualms with Cyndaquil, obviously. Like, it's a good fire type. I didn't really care about what was Oshawott. Was that the other one? I like the grass Pokemon that I have access to, but like my grass Pokemon are getting their ass kicked, and I have a big, beefy, chunky, high defense Tangrowth, and it's just getting fucking walloped, and I'm like, well, damn, son.
Yeah.
So I wish that I had better access to certain Pokemon, better
I can't remember the name.
Pokemon.
The water type is the walrus thing.
Oh, my Walrein.
Walrein.
Oh, yeah.
I do have a Walrein. You are correct.
He is beef.
He is. He's a beefy boy.
Thick
That's
boy.
a beef.
My Walrein has like 354 health at level 53. I
Somewhere
think
around there.
he's
Jesus.
a beefy boy. Yeah. I also like the fact that they incorporated alpha Pokemon into it, so they are slightly stronger versions of the Pokemon that you can typically find. I caught a Machamp that way. How big was that motherfucking Machamp? The Garchomp that I had was massive too.
He's not just beef. He's like a whole roast.
He is the whole fucking cow. Like,
He's a lot.
standing next to him would be like if Ethan was to stand up, I would go up to his like waist.
Yeah.
That's what you do now.
I am not that short. I go to his nipples, you bitch.
You offered me the opportunity. I had to.
Arceus.
I offer you the opportunity to also suck my dick.
I've never been a fan of the mode that Pokemon games take. Really, they're not really my favorite. If more of them had been like Arceus, I would have liked more of them a lot more. The only thing that I would change about it is if they took the like auto battle thing from Scarlet and Violet and they put it into that game, because there's so much catching you have to do. Now you can sneak up and catch them.
Yes.
You can do that, but if the auto battling were there, it would help a lot, because that takes up a lot of time.
Yes. I also, I personally wish, was it Heart Gold and Soul Silver that your Pokemon could follow behind you?
Any Pokemon, yeah.
I kind of wish that I could, like they did in Scarlet and Violet, I wish that I could travel with my companion and not just continuously throw them out the entire time. Like, I want my Garchomp, my gigantic ass Garchomp.
This is the first game they've done of
chase after me.
this style, though, and I don't think because of who made it, right, and who owns Pokemon and their typical unreliableness, they may never do a game like this again.
They're literally releasing another Legends game.
Are they?
Yeah.
Like ZA.
I don't know. I don't pay that much
hope
attention to them.
So,
Yeah.
I hope that it is.
I don't know if it's going to be exactly like Arceus, but it is. They're redo. Was it not Unova? What's 6?
Because sometimes they make
What's
sweeping.
X and Y? Is it? I forget.
Johto, Hoenn,
Sinnoh.
Sinnoh.
I thought 5 is Unova. I don't know.
It might be Unova.
They're going back to X and Y whatever that is called. I forget.
If they did like a medieval one,
Kalos.
If they did like a medieval one in Galar, I could get behind that.
Yeah. Like a Scarlet.
They do
Galar.
like a.
Scarlet
There's some like
Galar.
history stuff that they do in Sword and Shield, right? But I think they could pair that with the Legends thing and the Galar region. I think it would work out really well.
I believe ZA is supposed to be about the before the they make the city. I forget what the big
Lumios.
city, Lumios City. They renovate Lumios City. It's supposed to be based off like the French Revolution and stuff like that.
Neat.
Yeah, because it literally, as I was looking this up, it literally said that it's going to take place in Lumios
Yeah,
City
it's
in the Kalos region.
It's going to be placed in one city.
And Arceus is a lot more. Well, okay. This is within context of it being a Pokemon game, but it's a lot less kid friendly than other Pokemon games.
Do you eat Pokemon?
No.
They all eat too. They all do.
I kind of understand.
is it a
I
mechanic
think
in
I
the game?
understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
How you have to So in Arceus, you don't really have the option of just walking up and battling absolutely everything. Things will run away from you, and you kind of have to plan where you're going and how you're throwing.
And they
things.
will screw your day up
Oh,
if you
fuck yeah.
They will attack you. Like they will attack you.
Yeah, and if you pass out, I to date have not fully passed out. Now I've lost all of my Pokemon and been able to run away and get away from battles and stuff because you don't fully black out after all of your Pokemon are done. You just leave the battle, and then those Pokemon can attack you.
You're like, run, bitch.
Yeah. I will say that the way that they also did your mounts and like your main moves, like flying, like climbing, like surf, right? The way that they did those Pokemon, the transition is very smooth between all of them. I could run up to a wall and hit A and immediately be up the wall because my Sneasler has just automatically gone into, like, if I jump into the water, I will immediately be on Basculegon, I think is what his name is.
That sounds right.
Yeah. And I can jump off with my Weirdeer into the water and immediately be on Basculegon and be able to go full speed into the water. The way that they do it is pretty seamless. Like, the Sneasler one still has its hiccups every now and then, but for the most part, it's a really, really well done game. I think we only noticed like 3 or 4 things that were really wrong with it visually, and it was in like a cave.
And it was just very minor, like, we can see the mesh now.
Yeah.
But that happens in caves and games all the time.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
But yeah, it's a really good game. I'm glad I gave it a shot. I know that Logan is also a huge fan of Arceus, so... But yeah, that's the last one that I had.
Okay.
Yep.
I think it's the last one we all got, right?
Yeah, I didn't do anything else this year.
But I basically didn't either. So that will wrap up the watch list for 2024, or I guess experience list is the best way to say it. Because we don't go outside.
I just learned that I need to watch more stuff in my own free time.
You don't have free time.
I do too.
You have a
Not
life.
anymore. Yeah. Not since Vox Machina.
You act like this was your entire. It was literally 10 days of your life,
Yeah.
if that.
It felt so much longer.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. Use the link in the description. You can go to our Discord and tell us what to watch next year.
It's nap time.
You can offer me book suggestions.
Deuce.
Bye.